like to call to order the Alexandria City Council special meeting. Ms. Stills?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mr. Lawson.
Here.
Mr. Fowler.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Silver.
Present.
Mr. Hobbs. Mr. Marshall.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum. Number one is to discuss receiving a request for the support of the reopening of the Hotel Bentley.
I'd like to
Mr. Lawson.
offer a resolution discussion. It's a resolution of the the City Council of the City of Alexandria endorsing the Central Louisiana Chamber of Commerce's Executive Board entering into discussions and consultations with Second Century Bentley Group concerning the establishment of a public-private collaborative for the restoration of the reopening of the historic Hotel Bentley. I move.
Second. Move to second. Discussion?
I'd like to call on Mr. Mark Johnson, maybe. Before he gets up, I want to say something. I guess as I look back on how I got involved in politics, I was on something called a transition team. It was 10 members that were formed with the urging of the Central Louisiana Chamber of Commerce. They ended up becoming the England Authority. That body certainly continues to be a model organization for base reuse. My other intimate workings with the Central Louisiana Chamber of Commerce took place when I served as president of the Rapides Parish Police Jury, and we were able to land companies like Boise Cascade. In addition to that, working with the Chamber of Commerce to make LSUA a federal institution. When I left the police jury, I came over to the City Council, there again finding myself in a position to work with our Central Louisiana Chamber of Commerce. We're able to, upon getting on the City Council, work with organizations like StarTech, the land deal in the current location, which was a public-private, I would think, collaboration. And in addition, to work with companies like Union Tank Car. I'm saying all that not to bore you, but to say that when we work together, it works. I can't think of any better organization to give an objective opinion on whether something makes sense or whether it doesn't make sense, other than our Chamber of Commerce. And the Bentley is bigger than Alexandria, quite frankly. I think it's probably the #1 private historic property that we have in Central Louisiana. It's noted across the nation, not just in Central Louisiana. And that being the case, I think what affords the opportunity to the Chamber of Commerce to work with us, the council, administration, anyone else, and certainly the committee that you appointed, Mr. Marshall, to come back with something that makes sense. I'm asking that they do this within a 10-day period. If you feel like you can't do it within that period, come back and request additional time. Mr. Johnson.
Okay, Mr. Lawson, and to the rest of the council, Mr. Marshall, thanks for the opportunity for us to come and address the group today. On Monday, we had a meeting at the Chamber, and we had several people who were concerned about the status of our downtown hotels, both the Bentley and the Alexander Fulton Hotel, formerly the Holiday Inn. We had some good, I think, a very good conversation, and a lot of people who were interested in that gave some input. One of the things I want to let y'all know, and as you know, I'm working for Regions Bank now. Hotel financing in today's market is something that's a challenge for some. And in fact, when normally we would finance, in some instances, 80% on deals, we're now looking at 70 to 65% financing, with the borrowers putting up anywhere from 30 to 35%. I say that to you because I want to let you know that finding financing for a closed Hotel Bentley that's been closed almost 4 years now, one that has had somewhat of a storied history, finding financing for a property like that is almost non-existent unless you're very strong financially. What I've heard from Dudley Ventures, the Phoenix-based company that has the agreement with Bob Dean now, is that they have Morgan Stanley, one of the world's largest financial institutions, that's going to be the senior lender on their deal. That speaks volumes to me about their financial strength. So we're certainly, as a chamber board, looking forward to sitting down and listening to what they're proposing and then bringing something back to you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions for you today.
And before we get started, Mr. President, if you will, I want to make it clear that this organization was not the only organization that many of us have probably spoken to. When the Bentley was closed, one of the big things that I wanted to see when I was elected to the council was redevelopment of downtown. You have no true redevelopment with this property closed and without an adjoining property functioning full speed as well. This group was among several other groups that were approached and asked to consider this property. This group has gone further than any of those other groups that have been approached. But when you have a situation such as this, you have to have two things: a willing seller, a willing buyer, and certainly both ought to be capable. In many instances, and you see it across the country, there's nothing unique. My good friend Mayor Kip Holding is offering a $900+ billion proposal to be placed before the voters, and included in that is were our incentives to get hoteliers to look at the downtown area. So this is nothing unique. I think government should participate not only in downtown, on MacArthur Drive and anywhere else within our boundaries of the city limits. So that being said, Mr. President, I want to say as Chair of Economic Development, if we're going to be serious about having a thriving tourism convention business, you do not get that without having hotels fully functioning that we committed to, quite frankly, attached to our convention center.
May I add one other thing? This is perhaps the fourth group that I know of that's actually tried to purchase the Hotel Bentley in the last 4 years that it's been closed. And I was involved with 3 of the 4 groups. The fourth group was actually a group that I think Rod knows, I actually worked with. But there's been some rumors about Centronics and their participation in this deal, and I did get permission from John Snyder, the president of Centronics, to let you know this. There have been some who've been saying that they're not strong financially, and I just left a project in Baton Rouge while I was doing my due diligence on a couple other projects. I looked at a $20 million facility that Centronics is working on, and I'm pleased to tell you that he allowed me to tell you this. My very first account at Regions Bank was a high 6-figure account that Centronics opened with us. So for anybody who's speculating about their financial strength, and I think we need to get the rumors out and let's get some facts on the table. And if y'all have any questions, I certainly want to take those.
Let's finish with him first, and I want to direct a question to Mr. John. Anybody have any questions for?
I just want to make it clear. Do you see this as a role as chairman of the president? Chairman.
I'm chairman. I'm chairman of the chamber, but I will tell you this: Elton Pody, who is the president of the chamber, is very well respected in the state of Louisiana and in Washington. And I think Elton has a very successful history of sitting down and working with business organizations to put together deals. And I believe Elton can work with not only the city council, but certainly the administration and Dudley Ventures and Centronics. And we have a very capable staff. Rick Ranson is also on our staff now, previously in banking for about 30 years. So I think we certainly have the team to put this together.
And the willingness is there?
And the willingness is there.
John, do you have anything to add to the mix at the moment?
Not at this time, Harry.
My only comment is this. I got involved in this thing a couple of years ago when we went down to Baton Rouge. I sort of liken it to I'm McCain and he is Obama, because I'm old and he's young. I came back with the idea, and it was sort of to go, and then it was shelved. I did discuss it with the mayor at the time, and he was right, because they were really underfinanced. They were asking for things that were terribly unreasonable. Now that I've sort of reviewed these things and heard some comments from various assessments, I feel that they are solid and could be helpful in working it out. I always keep saying, let's take the worst case scenario. Let's assume we work the deal and the hotel is open. In my opinion, it should be successful along with the other hotel and the riverfront. But if we can work out something that in the event it craters, the city reserves the right to do what it wants to with the building, the property underneath it, so we own everything from here all the way up to and including the parking garage. It gives us a tremendous impact to know what's going to happen and also have an effect on what's going to happen on the Red River. Those are the things that I keep thinking about because I mentioned the other day that we don't have too many semesters left, otherwise we might as well default in trying to recapture the conventions business, which is an overnight success once all of these things are open. And for that reason, I'm just suggesting that I don't like the word TIF and other things, but the mayor came up with SPART. There's certain, if they could get together and communicate, which is my pet word, and work out something whereby this thing can work, by communication, I feel that we can be successful and everybody will benefit. With that in mind, I would move the question.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith is absent. Mr. Silver?
Affirmative?
Mr. Hobbs? Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. President, you have 5 yeas, 1 no, and 1 absent, and the resolution passes.
Thank you.
It's my understanding that this resolution plus a time frame of a 10-day period, so we know where we're going, we'll come back and report and see what progress we have.
Absolutely. And what this affords is what I think is important. This is a facility, as I mentioned earlier, it's for Central Louisiana. And certainly our Chamber of Commerce, with their resources, ought to be able to do due diligence to come back and see whether what is being suggested, an intelligent decision for us to make on behalf of the ratepayers, the taxpayers, or whether it's not. So that's what I'm expecting out of our Chamber of Commerce. And if they can't do it within 10 days, Mr. Johnson, I certainly expect you all to come back and ask for additional time and bring the data back to this council.
I'd also like to say a few words. Over a few days, and I look at every day, every other day, I'm getting applications for employment, and I'm quite sure other businesses around the city. And I kind of had a change of heart when I saw an opportunity for 180 jobs, directly or indirectly, that would be done by the Bentley being open. That's a lot of jobs. I got people in my district walking up and down Bolton Avenue and Monroe Street looking for jobs. And I would be remiss if I did not at least afford the opportunity for somebody else to come in and open up a business and to pass up this many jobs. I don't think I can live with myself if I voted against it and let it win. I wholeheartedly agree with the 10-day period. If we can come together with something in 10 days. We don't need to sit down and study it and study it and study it to death. Let's go it on and move with it. 2004, when the Bentley closed, it closed. This is 2008. And well past the halfway point of 2008 towards 2009. That's a long time. Can we ask those same people that's asking for jobs and looking for jobs to wait for another study for another year or two? I don't think so. We owe our citizens better. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say?
I just want to make it clear that the Chamber is not confined to dealing with this document that we have in front of us. I think any and all opportunities ought to be explored that's in the interest of the taxpayers. So I'm not condoning necessarily everything that's in this document. I think there are things that I certainly would like to see considered, but I will like to see the chamber have the opportunity to explore it, and without interference from anybody, whether it's seller, whether it's those of us up here. Just keep
There
them.
is also a committee that was formed by the mayor that should also be incorporated in all of this so that we have communication.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that all the bodies come back with recommendations to the council.
Maybe we're going, my neighbor's formed by the council.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that.
Committee of the council formed on this issue.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you.